The alarm bells rang through the massive space station called Harmony Prime. Admiral Zeftar of the Volani race rushed through the long corridors toward the council chamber. His blue skin was pale with fear, and his 4 arms trembled as he carried the data pad with the latest reports. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos when he arrived. 12 different alien species sat around the circular table, all talking at once in their various languages. The universal translator struggled to keep up with the panicked voices. Counselor Yiranth of the Crystalline Shard people stood up first. Her body was made of living crystal that normally glowed with peaceful light, but today the light flickered with worry. She raised one of her many crystal arms to get attention. "The situation is worse than we thought," she said in her musical voice. "The Krex Dominion has destroyed another star system. That makes 47 colonies lost in just 2 weeks. The chamber fell silent. 47 colonies meant billions of lives lost. The Krex were not like other enemies they had faced before. These machine beings did not want territory or resources. They simply destroyed everything in their path. Admiral Zeftar stepped forward and placed his datapad on the central table. The holographic display showed a map of their galaxy. Red dots marked the destroyed systems, and they formed a line pointing straight toward the core worlds. "Their planet-killer ships move faster than our fastest vessels," Zeftar said. "Our combined fleets cannot even slow them down. They use weapons we do not understand and shields that stop everything we throw at them." Counselor Merdok of the Peaceful Aquari spoke next. His fish-like features showed deep sadness as he looked at the red dots on the map. The Aquari had never fought a war in their entire history as a spacefaring race. "We tried to talk to them," Merdok said. "We sent our best diplomats with offers of peace, trade agreements, even tribute. The Krex destroyed the diplomatic ships without any response." The other council members began talking again, but there was no hope in their voices. Now, for 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had maintained peace through diplomacy and careful negotiation. Violence was something they had moved beyond as civilized beings. Yiranth activated her personal computer and began searching through their database of known species. Her crystal fingers moved quickly over the controls as she looked for any race. That might help them. "What about the Theran Empire?" suggested Zeftar. "They have strong ships." "Already contacted," replied another counselor. "They refuse to fight the Krex. Too dangerous." "The Nexus Federation?" Same answer. "They are evacuating their border worlds instead of fighting." One by one, they went through every military power in the galaxy. Every single one had either been destroyed by the Krex or was too afraid to fight them. The council was running out of options and time. Yiranth stopped scrolling through the database. Her crystal body flickered brighter as she found something interesting. She looked at the entry for a long moment before speaking. "There is one more possibility," she said slowly, "but it is listed in the restricted files." "What do you mean, restricted?" asked Merdok. Yiranth brought up the file on the main display. The entry was marked with warning symbols in bright red colors. The species was listed as Extreme Caution, Deathworld Origin. "Humans of Sol 3, she read aloud. "They evolved on a Class 12 death world with extreme weather, dangerous predators, and limited resources. They are persistence hunters with pack mentality and show disturbing capacity for organized violence." The chamber was quiet again. Death worlds were planets so dangerous that most species could not even visit them without dying quickly. Any species that evolved on such a world would be extremely dangerous. Admiral Zeftar read more of the file. "It says they have been aware of galactic civilization for several decades but were never contacted due to security concerns. Their homeworld is quarantined by galactic law." "They sound terrible," whispered Merdok. "Why would we contact such violent beings?" Yiranth looked around the chamber at her fellow council members. Each face showed the same fear and desperation. Outside the station, their sensors detected more Krex ships approaching. They had maybe days before Harmony Prime itself was under attack. Because, she said quietly, sometimes you need monsters to fight monsters. The vote was close, but fear of extinction won over fear of humans. They would send a message to the Sol system asking for military help. None of them knew what kind of response they would get from the Deathworlders. Counselor Merdak composed the message himself. He tried to make it sound formal and diplomatic, explaining their situation and asking for assistance against the Krex. Threat. He included all the tactical data they had about the enemy ships and weapons. The message was sent on the fastest communication relay toward the Sol system. Now all they could do was wait and hope that the humans would help them. More importantly, they hoped the humans would not decide that a weakened galaxy was perfect for conquest. As the council members left the chamber, none of them noticed the small Krex scout ship watching from the edge of the system. The machines had been studying these peaceful aliens for weeks, learning their weaknesses. Soon, very soon, Harmony Prime would fall like all the others. 3 days later, the alien message reached Earth's Strategic Defense Command deep under the Colorado Mountains. General Patricia Kane sat in the war room surrounded by dozens of monitors showing space traffic around the Sol system. When the communication officer handed her the decoded message, she read it twice before believing it. "They want our help," she said to the room full of officers. "After 50 years of ignoring us, now they need us." Captain Ryan Mitchell stepped forward to read the message over her shoulder. He was a tall man with scars on his face from the resource wars that had ended just 5 years ago. His dark eyes moved quickly over the tactical data attached to the alien request. "These Krex sound serious," he said. "Planet killer ships, unstoppable advance, 47 systems destroyed. The aliens are right to be scared." Dr. Lisa Park, the chief xenobiology expert, pulled up her files on the Galactic Council races. She had been studying them since humanity first detected their radio signals decades ago. The photos showed beautiful, graceful beings that looked like they had never seen a day of hardship. "Look at these species," she said, pointing to the images. "The Volani evolved on a world with no large predators. The Aquari come from ocean worlds with unlimited food. The Shard people are silicon-based life from mineral-rich planets. None of them ever had to fight for survival." General Kane understood immediately. These aliens had never developed real military technology because they never needed it. Their idea of warfare was probably as gentle as everything else about them. "What do we know about their current military capabilities?" she asked. "Captain," Mitchell brought up the intelligence reports. "Their ships are fast and efficient, but the weapons are designed to disable rather than destroy. They use ion beams that shut down enemy systems without killing the crew. Very civilized." "Very stupid," replied General Kane. "You cannot negotiate with machines that want to kill everything." Admiral John Hayes entered the war room at that moment. He was an older man with gray hair and cold blue eyes that had seen too many battles. He had been reading the alien message during his walk from the communication center. "So the galaxy finally needs us," he said with a bitter smile. "After calling us dangerous savages for 50 years, now they want our help." "What do you think, Admiral?" asked General Kane. "Should we respond?" Admiral Hayes looked at the tactical data about the Krex ships. The enemy used overwhelming firepower and scorched earth tactics. It was exactly the kind of threat humanity had been preparing for since reaching space. "We respond," he said firmly, "but not with diplomacy or peacekeeping. We send them what they actually need, which is pure destruction." The room fell silent as everyone understood what that meant. Humanity would not send negotiators or advisors. They would send their most advanced warship with orders to eliminate the threat completely. Admiral Hayes activated the main display and pulled up the ship registry. There was only one vessel designed for this kind of mission, the UES Reaper. It was humanity's most advanced destroyer, built specifically for ending wars quickly and permanently. The Reaper is currently docked at Luna Station, reported Captain Mitchell. Full crew, full weapons load, ready for deployment. Who commands her now? Asked the Admiral. Commander Elena Rodriguez. She led the final assault on the Mars rebels during the Resource Wars. Her crew has more combat experience than any other ship in the fleet. General Kane nodded approvingly. Rodriguez was known for aggressive tactics and complete mission success. If anyone could handle hostile aliens, it was her. Dr. Park raised her hand nervously. Should we not send a diplomat as well? These aliens might be shocked by our methods. Admiral Hayes looked at her with those cold eyes. Doctor, these aliens asked for military assistance against an enemy that destroys planets. They are about to learn what human military assistance actually means. The orders were cut within the hour. The UES Reaper would depart for the Harmony Prime system immediately. Commander Rodriguez would have complete tactical authority to deal with the Krex threat as she saw fit. Captain Mitchell was assigned as military liaison, along with Dr. Park to handle alien relations. They would travel aboard the Reaper to observe and report back to Earth Command. As the meeting ended, Admiral Hayes called General Kane aside privately. Patricia, make sure Rodriguez understands the bigger picture here. This is not just about helping some aliens. What do you mean? For 50 years, the galaxy has treated us like dangerous animals. Today, they learn that dangerous animals are exactly what they need. After this mission, they will never ignore humanity again. General Kane understood. This was about more than military assistance. This was about showing the galaxy that Earth was not some primitive world to be quarantined. Humanity was a power that demanded respect. The message was sent back to the Galactic Council within 6 hours of receiving their request. It was short and direct. Military assistance approved. UES Reaper en route. Prepare for immediate combat operations. The aliens would probably expect a diplomatic ship with negotiators and peacekeepers. Instead, they were getting a warship designed to end conflicts by eliminating enemies completely. Commander Rodriguez received her orders while the Reaper was still docked at Luna Station. She read them carefully, then looked out at the stars, through the bridge windows. Somewhere out there, machines were destroying entire civilizations. Not on my watch, she said quietly. The UES Reaper undocked from Luna Station 12 hours later and jumped to hyperspace. The ship was loaded with enough firepower to level a small moon. More importantly, it carried a crew trained to use that firepower without hesitation. The galaxy was about to meet humanity at war. The UES Reaper dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Harmony Prime system exactly 4 days after leaving Earth. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge watching the massive alien space station through the main viewer. It was beautiful, in a way that human structures never were. All smooth curves and gentle lights. Sensors detect multiple alien vessels around the station, reported Lieutenant Tony Clark from the weapons console. They appear to be in some kind of defensive formation. Rodriguez studied the alien ships through her binoculars. They were arranged in perfect geometric patterns that looked more like art than military strategy. That is not a defensive formation, she said. That is a parade formation. The communication officer turned toward her. Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the alien station. They are requesting permission to come aboard for a formal greeting ceremony. Denied. We beam over to them. Lieutenant Maria Santos, you are with me. Clark, you have the bridge. Rodriguez chose a small team for the meeting. Herself, Santos as translator, and 2 Marines for security. She deliberately wore her combat uniform instead of dress clothes. These aliens needed to understand immediately what kind of help they were getting. The transporter beam deposited them in what was obviously the main docking bay of Harmony Prime. Rodriguez looked around at the alien architecture and shook her head. Everything was designed for beauty rather than function. The walls were decorated with flowing patterns that served no practical purpose. A group of aliens waited to greet them. Rodriguez recognized the species from the intelligence files. tall blue Velani, crystalline shard people, and fish-like Aquari. They all moved with the graceful, unhurried motions of beings who had never known real danger. Admiral Zeftar stepped forward first. His forearms were spread wide in what was probably a peaceful gesture among his people. When he saw the humans, he stopped suddenly. His large eyes went wide, and his blue skin became even paler. "Welcome to Harmony Prime," he said through his translator device. "We are grateful that you answered our call for assistance." Rodriguez nodded curtly. "Commander Elena Rodriguez, United Earthship Reaper. We received your request for military aid against the Krex threat." The other aliens whispered among themselves in their musical languages. Rodriguez could see them, staring at her and her team. She knew what they were seeing: forward-facing eyes like predators, visible muscle definition, and the unconscious way humans moved like they were always ready for a fight. Counselor Yeranth stepped forward next. Her crystal body flickered with nervous light as she spoke. "Commander, we should discuss the tactical situation. Perhaps we could arrange a more formal briefing?" "Lead the way." The council chamber was just as beautiful and impractical as the rest of the station. The aliens sat around their circular table while Rodriguez remained standing. Santos and the Marines positioned themselves near the exits out of habit. "We have prepared detailed battle plans," said Merdak, activating a holographic display. "Our forces will take these positions around the expected Krex approach vector. We hope your ship can provide support fire from this location." Rodriguez looked at the alien battle plan for exactly 10 seconds. "This is not a battle plan. This is a recipe for suicide." The aliens looked confused. Zeftar tilted his head in that way his species did when they did not understand something. "What do you mean, Commander?" "You have your ships spread out in a perfect grid pattern. The enemy can defeat each group separately. Your weapons are designed to disable, not destroy. You are planning to fight machines that want to kill you, but you refuse to kill them back." Dr. Park stepped forward to help with translation, but Rodriguez waved her back. Sometimes harsh truths needed harsh words. Yeranth's crystal body flickered faster. "Commander, we believe in minimal force deployment. Surely we can find a solution that does not require excessive destruction." "There is no such thing as excessive destruction when facing extinction," Rodriguez replied coldly. "The Krex have destroyed 47 systems. They do not negotiate. They do not retreat. They must be eliminated completely." The aliens looked shocked at her words. Merdak spoke up nervously. "But surely there must be some diplomatic solution, some way to coexist." Lieutenant Santos whispered a translation of what the fish-like alien had said. Rodriguez turned her, dark eyes on Merdak, and he instinctively moved back in his chair. "Counselor, your diplomats are dead. Your fleets are destroyed. Your colonies are smoking ruins. The time for diplomatic solutions ended 47 systems ago." Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the station. The main display changed to show long-range sensors detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching the system. The Krex main fleet was arriving ahead of schedule. 200 ships, reported Zeftar, his voice shaking, including 3 planet-killer dreadnoughts. The aliens immediately began moving toward their ships to take their assigned positions. Rodriguez grabbed Zeftar's arm with enough force to make him stop. "Where are you going?" "To our ships, of course. We must defend Harmony Prime." "No, you will retreat to maximum safe distance and stay there." The Admiral looked confused again. "But this is our space, our station. We must participate in its defense." Rodriguez looked around the chamber at all the alien faces staring at her. They were beautiful beings, graceful and peaceful and completely unprepared for what was about to happen. "Admiral, I need you to listen very carefully. In about 30 minutes, this system is going to become a battlefield unlike anything your species has ever seen. Your ships are not equipped for that kind of combat. Your crews are not trained for that level of violence. But surely you cannot face 200 ships alone, protested Yiranth. Rodriguez smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. It was the smile of a predator that had just spotted prey. Counselor, you called us Deathworlders for a reason. You labeled us as dangerous for a reason. Today you are going to learn what those reasons are. She activated her communication device. Reaper, this is Rodriguez. All alien vessels are to withdraw to safe distance immediately. Prepare for combat operations. Acknowledged, Commander. All systems ready. Rodriguez looked back at the aliens one more time. I strongly suggest you retreat to your station's emergency shelters. What happens next is going to be loud. As the humans beamed back to their ship, the aliens finally began to understand what they had unleashed. They had asked the galaxy's most dangerous predators for help, and now those predators were going hunting. The Krex fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 200 warships arranged in a massive wedge shape that had intimidated dozens of species across the galaxy. At the center, 3 enormous dreadnoughts powered up their planet killer weapons. Each ship was the size of a small moon and armed with enough firepower to crack continental plates. Commander Rodriguez watched them arrive from the bridge of the UES Reaper. Her ship hung in space like a predator waiting to strike. Compared to the massive alien vessels, the Reaper looked small and insignificant. The Krex formation was designed to inspire fear and surrender. All alien vessels have withdrawn to safe distance, reported Lieutenant Clark from the weapons station. We are alone in the combat zone. Good. They would just get in the way. Rodriguez activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the commander. We are about to engage a superior enemy force using tactics they will not expect. Every person on this ship is here because they are the best at what they do. Today we show the galaxy what human military doctrine actually means. The bridge crew responded with quiet confidence. These were veterans of the resource wars, soldiers who had learned to fight against impossible odds. Lieutenant Commander Steve Adams managed the tactical systems while Chief Petty Officer Angela White coordinated damage control. They worked with the mechanical precision of people who had done this many times before. The Krex fleet began moving toward Harmony Prime in their traditional approach pattern. Their ships maintained perfect spacing and formation, following the same tactics that had conquered half the galaxy. They expected the lone human ship to either flee or attempt some kind of desperate last stand. They were about to learn that humans did not fight like other species. Range to enemy fleet? Asked Rodriguez. 2 million kilometers and closing, reported Adams. Weapon status? All missile tubes loaded, railguns charged, plasma cannons ready, nuclear warheads armed. Rodriguez waited until the enemy fleet was exactly where she wanted them. The Krex maintained their formation, confident that one small ship could not threaten their massive force. Their computer minds calculated victory with mathematical certainty. Fire. Everything. The UES Reaper unleashed its entire arsenal in the first 10 seconds of combat. Missiles streaked away from the ship in all directions, while railgun projectiles moved at significant fractions of light speed. Plasma bolts and laser beams carved through space toward the enemy formation. The aliens watching from Harmony Prime had never seen anything like it. Human weapons were not designed to disable or minimize casualties. They were built to destroy targets as quickly and completely as possible. The first wave of missiles struck the outer Krex ships. Nuclear explosions blossomed like deadly flowers against their shields. But Rodriguez was not trying to destroy the enemy fleet with missiles alone. She was using them to break up their perfect formation. "Engines full power," she ordered. "Take us into the middle of their fleet." "Commander?" Adams looked surprised. Standard tactics called for maintaining distance and using long-range weapons. "You heard me? Right down their throats." The Reaper accelerated toward the enemy formation at maximum speed. The Krex ships tried to adjust their positions to maintain formation integrity, but the human ship moved too fast and too unpredictably. Rodriguez used asteroid fields and debris clouds as cover, popping up in unexpected locations to launch attacks. The machine minds of the Kreks could not understand this fighting style. Their programming was based on traditional galactic warfare, formal challenges, careful positioning, minimal casualties. They had never faced an enemy that deliberately flew into the middle of their formation. "Ramming speed," ordered Rodriguez as they approached a Krex cruiser. "Commander, that will damage our hull," warned Chief White. That is the point. The Reaper smashed through the alien cruiser like a missile. The impact destroyed both ships' shields and left the human vessel trailing debris and atmosphere. But Rodriguez was not done. As they passed through the wreckage, she detonated one of their own missile magazines. The explosion caught 3 more Krex ships in its blast radius. Their hulls cracked, and atmosphere vented into space. The aliens watching from the station could not believe what they were seeing. The humans were using their own ship as a weapon. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 12, reported White. "Emergency force fields are holding. Casualties? 17 wounded, no fatalities. Repair teams are already working." Rodriguez nodded. Her crew treated massive battle damage like a routine maintenance problem. They had trained for this level of violence their entire careers. The Krex fleet was beginning to lose formation coherence. Their perfect wedge was becoming a chaotic swirl as individual ships tried to target the human vessel. But the Reaper moved through their formation like a shark among schools of fish, always attacking from unexpected angles. "Target the command ship," ordered Rodriguez, pointing at the largest dreadnought. "Commander, that ship is heavily armored. Our weapons may not penetrate. We are not going to shoot it," she said with that predator smile. "We are going to ram it." The UES Reaper turned toward the massive Krex flagship. Its planet-killer weapons swiveled to track the approaching human ship, but Rodriguez used the surrounding battle as cover. Explosions and debris clouds made targeting difficult, even for computer-controlled weapons. As they approached the dreadnought, Rodriguez made a decision that would echo through galactic history. Instead of trying to ram the enemy ship directly, she ordered the evacuation of the engine section. "All hands, abandon aft compartments. Prepare for core detonation." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Emergency bulkheads sealed and the remaining personnel crowded into the forward sections of the ship. Rodriguez set the antimatter containment system to fail on impact. The UES Reaper struck the Krex flagship at full speed with its reactor core set to explode. The collision created a brief artificial star visible from 3 systems away. When the radiation cleared, both ships were gone, along with a dozen nearby vessels caught in the explosion. The remaining Krex fleet found itself leaderless and facing an enemy they did not understand. Their perfect formation was shattered, their command structure destroyed, and their computer minds struggled to process combat data that made no sense. In the emergency shelters of Harmony Prime, the alien council members watched their sensors, in stunned silence. In less than 2 hours, humanity had accomplished what their combined fleets could not achieve in months of fighting. The Krex threat was over, but the galaxy would never be the same. The explosion of the Krex flagship lit up space like a new star. The blast wave expanded outward from the collision point, carrying debris and radiation across the entire system. When the sensors on Harmony Prime finally cleared, the alien council members stared at their displays in complete shock. The entire Krex fleet was gone. 200 warships that had terrorized the galaxy for months had been eliminated in less than 4 hours. The space around Harmony Prime was filled with floating wreckage and cooling plasma, but no intact enemy vessels remained. Admiral Zef-Tar checked his sensors 3 times before believing the readings. "They are all destroyed," he said in a whisper. "Every single Krex ship has been eliminated." Counselor Uranth's crystal body flickered with confused light patterns. How is that possible? They had overwhelming numerical superiority and planet-killer weapons. "The humans," said Merdak quietly. "The humans did this." On the far edge of the debris field, something moved. The aliens focused their sensors and discovered the UES Reaper limping back toward their station. The human ship was barely recognizable. Its hull was cracked and scorched, atmosphere vented from dozens of breaches, and entire sections had been blown away. But it was still moving. Still fighting. Commander Rodriguez stood on what remained of the Reaper's bridge. Half the control stations were destroyed, and emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows. Her uniform was torn, and blood ran from a cut on her forehead, but her eyes were still sharp and alert. "Damage report," she ordered. Chief White consulted her portable scanner since the main computer was offline. "Hull integrity at 30%. Life support failing on 7 decks. Main engines offline. We are running on emergency power only. Casualties? 43 wounded, 12 dead. Medical teams are treating the injured in Cargo Bay 2 since sickbay was destroyed." Rodriguez nodded grimly. 12 dead was a light casualty count for a battle of this magnitude, but each loss hurt. These were her people, her responsibility. "Can we make it back to the alien station?" "Barely. Emergency thrusters should get us there, but we will need immediate assistance for repairs." The communication system crackled with an incoming transmission from Harmony Prime. Admiral Zeftar's voice was filled with amazement and something that might have been fear. "Human vessel, this is Harmony Prime Control. Do you require assistance? This is Commander Rodriguez. We have wounded and need immediate medical support. Request permission to dock. Permission granted immediately. We are sending all available medical teams to meet you." The battered human ship slowly approached the alien station. The elegant docking arms extended to cradle the damaged vessel like they were handling something precious and dangerous at the same time. Rodriguez selected a small team to meet with the alien council. Lieutenant Santos would translate, while Dr. Park would handle the medical coordination for their wounded. She deliberately chose to wear her combat gear again, complete with sidearm and body armor. The aliens were waiting in the same docking bay where they had first met. But their attitude was completely different now. They moved carefully around the humans, like small animals that had just realized they were sharing space with apex predators. "Commander Rodriguez," said Zeftar formally, "the Galactic Council wishes to express our deepest gratitude for your assistance. You have saved our civilization." Rodriguez looked around at the alien faces staring at her. There was gratitude there, but also fear and uncertainty. They had asked for help and received exactly what they needed, but the cost had shocked them. "We did what was necessary," she replied simply. "The Krek's threat has been eliminated." Uranth stepped forward, her crystal body pulsing with nervous energy. "Commander, we must ask, how did your people develop such devastating military capabilities? Your ship was outnumbered 200 to 1, yet you achieved total victory." Rodriguez considered the question carefully. These aliens had lived their entire existence in peaceful garden worlds where resources were abundant and danger was rare. They could not understand the forces that had shaped humanity. "We come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years," she said. "Finally, predators, disease, natural disasters, resource scarcity. Everything on Earth was a threat that had to be overcome or avoided. We learned to fight because fighting was the only way to survive." "But how do you live with such capacity for violence?" asked Merdak. The fish-like alien seemed genuinely disturbed by what he had witnessed. "The same way you live with your capacity for peace," Rodriguez answered. "It is not about what you can do. It is about choosing when to do it. Today, violence was the right choice. Tomorrow it might not be." The council members looked at each other with expressions the humans could not read. These beings had never faced the kind of existential threat that had shaped human evolution. They were struggling to understand how anyone could be so efficient at destruction. Zeftar spoke up again. "The Galactic Council would like to offer humanity full membership in our organization. You have proven yourselves to be valuable allies." Rodriguez shook her head. We appreciate the offer, but we must decline. We did not come here for recognition or political advantage. Then why did you come? Because you asked for help, and we help people who need it. That is what decent species do. The simple honesty of her answer seemed to surprise the aliens even more than her ship's firepower had. They had expected demands for territory, resources, or political concessions. Instead, the humans wanted nothing except to return home. Dr. Park finished coordinating medical care for the human wounded and rejoined the group. The alien medical teams had been amazed by human resilience. Injuries that would have killed most species were treated as minor inconveniences by the human crew. Commander, she reported, the alien medical staff has stabilized all our wounded. They are requesting permission to study our medical files to understand human physiology better. Granted. Share whatever information they need. As the formal meeting concluded, Rodriguez prepared to return to her ship. The Reaper would need extensive repairs before it could attempt the journey back to Earth, and the alien shipyards were offering full assistance. Uranth approached her privately as the group was breaking up. Commander, I must ask you something. That troubles me. Your people are capable of such destruction, yet you came to help us without asking for anything in return. How do we know you will not become a threat to us in the future? Rodriguez looked at the crystalline alien for a long moment. It was a fair question, and one that deserved an honest answer. Because we choose not to be, she said simply. Every day, every human makes the choice between helping and harming, between building and destroying. Today we chose to help. That choice defines us more than our weapons do. The UES Reaper remained docked at Harmony Prime for 2 weeks while repairs were completed. During that time, the human crew worked alongside alien engineers and shared technical knowledge freely. The cultural exchange was awkward at first, but gradually both species began to understand each other better. When the Reaper finally departed for Earth, it left behind a galaxy that had been forever changed. The peaceful species of the Galactic Council now knew that there were beings in the universe capable of violence beyond their imagination. But they also knew that those same beings had chosen to use that violence to protect the innocent. Commander Rodriguez stood on the repaired bridge of her ship as they jumped to hyperspace. Outside the viewports, the stars shifted and blurred as they began the journey home. Her crew had done their job with typical human efficiency, but she knew the real work was just beginning. The galaxy now knew that humanity existed, and more importantly, what humanity was capable of. Some species would fear them, others would respect them, and a few might even try to challenge them. Rodriguez smiled grimly as she settled into her command chair. Let them come. The universe was a dangerous place, and sometimes dangerous problems required dangerous solutions. Humanity was ready for whatever came next. News of the Krek's destruction spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. The quantum communication networks carried the impossible story from system to system. A single human vessel had eliminated an entire fleet that had terrorized civilized space for months. On the industrial world of Koresh Prime, the Theron Empire's military council gathered in emergency session. General Vextar, a massive reptilian being with scarred hide, studied the battle recordings that had been transmitted from Harmony Prime. Play it again, he ordered his aide. The holographic display showed the final moments of the engagement. The small human ship accelerated directly toward the Krek's flagship, seemingly intent on suicide. Then came the explosion that outshone the system's star. They used their own ship as a guided missile, muttered Admiral Kreshna. Who fights like that? Someone who values mission success over personal survival, replied Vextar grimly. The Theron Empire had built their reputation on military might, but even they had avoided direct confrontation with the Kreks. These humans fight like the ancient warrior clans of our homeworld. The aide, a younger Theron with unblemished scales, spoke nervously. "General, should we be concerned about this new species? Their combat capabilities appear to exceed our own." Vextar considered this carefully. The Theron Empire controlled 30 systems through military strength, but their tactics relied on overwhelming force and superior technology. The humans had won through sheer audacity and willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. "Send a message to High Command," he decided. "We need to establish diplomatic contact with these humans immediately. Anyone capable of such warfare could be either our greatest ally or our most dangerous enemy." 3 systems away, on the trading hub of Nexus Station, a different conversation was taking place. The Merchants Guild had gathered to discuss the implications of humanity's sudden appearance on the galactic stage. Guildmaster Tolvarin, a thin insectoid being with compound eyes, tapped his claws nervously on the conference table. "The Galactic Council has confirmed the reports. 200 Krex vessels destroyed by a single human ship." "What do we know about human technology?" asked Trade Commissioner Yilseth. "Very little. Their ship appeared to use conventional weapons, but deployed in unconventional ways. No new physics, just extreme tactical aggression." The merchants looked uncomfortable. The galactic economy depended on predictable trade routes and stable governments. Introducing a wildly aggressive species into that balance could cause chaos. "Should we attempt to establish trade relations?" suggested Yilseth. Tolvarin shook his head. "Not yet. Let others make first contact. We will observe and wait to see how these humans integrate with galactic civilization." Meanwhile, in the deepest reaches of space, other forces were taking notice. The Shadakan Collective operated from hidden bases in the void between systems, surviving through piracy and slave trading. Their leader, a being known only as the Void Walker, studied the reports with growing concern. "The humans destroyed the Krex completely," reported his lieutenant, a scarred cyborg with glowing red eyes. "No survivors, no negotiation, no mercy." The Void Walker was silent for a long moment. The Shadowkin had prospered because they could always disappear into the darkness when confronted by superior force. But how do you hide from an enemy willing to destroy everything to achieve victory? "Increase security around all our bases," he ordered finally, "and send scouts toward the Sol system. We need to understand these humans before they understand us." Back at Harmony Prime, the Alien Council was dealing with the aftermath of their salvation. Hundreds of ships arrived daily, bringing refugees from the systems the Krex had threatened. But they also brought questions about humanity that the Council could not answer. Admiral Zeftar found himself fielding constant communications from other species wanting to know about the humans. Some sought alliance, others wanted to know if humanity posed a new threat, and a few were already planning military responses to what they saw as a dangerous unknown. "We need to establish formal relations with Earth," he told the Council during their daily meeting. "Other species are making assumptions about human intentions based on incomplete information." Counselor Yaranth flickered with worried light. "But what if establishing relations draws more attention to Earth? The humans seem to prefer their isolation." "They gave up their isolation the moment they helped us," replied Merdak. "Whether they wanted it or not, humanity is now a known factor in galactic politics." The truth of his words became clear when a massive fleet appeared at the edge of the system. 60 ships bearing the markings of the hegemony, a military alliance of 12 aggressive species that had been expanding their territory for decades. Fleet Admiral Gorthak of the brutal Kadhar species transmitted a message to Harmony Prime. His scarred face filled the communication screen, showing the ritual battle scars that marked him as a veteran of 100 campaigns. "Galactic Council," he began without preamble. "The hegemony demands information about the human species and their military capabilities. We consider their destruction of the Krex fleet to be a potential threat to galactic stability." Zeftar composed his response carefully. "Admiral Gorthak, The humans responded to our request for assistance against the Krex threat. They are not aggressive toward peaceful species. Any species capable of such destruction is a threat by definition, Gorthak replied coldly. We demand the location of their homeworld and detailed technical specifications of their weapons. That information is not ours to share. The communication cut off abruptly. Within hours, hegemony ships were conducting aggressive patrols throughout the system, scanning everything and demanding access to the debris from the battle. The Alien Council realized they had created a crisis. By asking humanity for help, they had revealed the existence of a species that other powers saw as either a valuable ally or a dangerous threat. War was a real possibility. We need to warn Earth, said Uranth. The humans may not realize that their actions have made them a target. The message was sent on the fastest available communication relay. It warned Earth Command that multiple galactic powers were taking an interest in humanity, and not all of that interest was friendly. On Earth, General Kane read the alien warning with growing concern. Humanity had hoped to help the Galactic Council quietly and return to their peaceful isolation. Instead, they had announced their presence to the entire galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Admiral Hayes, she called over the intercom, we need to discuss the Reaper mission. Admiral Hayes arrived within minutes, carrying his own copy of the alien message. His face was grim as he sat down across from her desk. The galaxy knows about us now, he said simply, and some of them are. Not happy about it. This hegemony sounds like trouble. Hayes nodded. 12 aggressive species with 60 warships currently in the Harmony Prime system. They want technical information about our weapons and the location of Earth. Recommendations. We accelerate the fleet construction program and prepare for the possibility of hostile contact. The days of Earth being ignored by galactic civilization are over. General Kane looked out her office window at the blue sky of Earth. Somewhere up there, among the stars, entire civilizations were debating whether humanity should be welcomed, enslaved, or destroyed. Send a message to Commander Rodriguez, she decided. The Reaper is to remain at Harmony Prime until further notice. If this hegemony wants to make threats, they can do it while looking at the ship that destroyed the Krex fleet. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting, and humanity found itself at the center of the storm they had created. The question now was whether they were strong enough to weather what was coming. Admiral Hayes smiled grimly as he left to implement the new orders. The galaxy wanted to know what humanity was capable of in a fight. They were about to find out. The UES Reaper hung in space near Harmony Prime like a wounded predator. Its battle-scarred hull drew constant attention from the dozens of ships that had gathered in the system. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to see the vessel that had accomplished the impossible. Commander Rodriguez stood in the ship's temporary briefing room, addressing a group of alien diplomats who had requested permission to come aboard. The room was crowded with beings from 8 different species, each trying to understand what they were dealing with. Your tactical approach seems unnecessarily destructive, observed Ambassador Keltar of the peaceful Minari Confederation. Surely the same result could have been achieved with less violence. Rodriguez looked at the tall, graceful alien with his silver skin and large, innocent eyes. The Minari had never fought a war in their recorded history. They genuinely could not understand why anyone would choose destruction over negotiation. Ambassador, the Krex had destroyed 47 systems before we engaged them. They ignored all diplomatic overtures and killed every envoy sent to negotiate. Sometimes the only language an enemy understands is violence. But the cost, protested another diplomat. This one from the scholarly Veltari species. Your ship was nearly destroyed. 12 of your crew died. Was victory worth such a price? Lieutenant Santos, who had been translating quietly, tensed at the question. She had served with some of the crew members who died in the battle. Rodriguez noticed her reaction and put a calming hand on her shoulder. Every life lost in that battle saved thousands of others, Rodriguez replied coldly. The Krex were not going to stop their advance. If we had not eliminated them here, they would have continued destroying worlds until someone finally found the courage to fight them properly. The briefing was interrupted by an urgent communication from the bridge. Lieutenant Clark's voice came over the intercom with barely controlled tension. "Commander, you need to see this. The hegemony fleet is moving into attack formation." Rodriguez dismissed the alien diplomats immediately and rushed to the bridge. Through the main viewer, she could see the 60 hegemony warships repositioning themselves around Harmony Prime. Their formation was aggressive and clearly designed to intimidate. "What are they doing?" asked Dr. Park, who had been monitoring alien communications. "Making a statement," Rodriguez replied grimly. "Admiral Gorthak wants everyone to know that the hegemony is not impressed by our victory over the Krex." The communication system activated with an incoming transmission. Admiral Gorthak's scarred face appeared on the screen, his reptilian features twisted with contempt. "Human Commander," he began without any diplomatic courtesy. "I am Admiral Gorthak of the Kadhar, Supreme Commander of the Hegemony Combined Fleet. You will surrender your vessel for inspection and provide complete technical specifications of your weapons systems." Rodriguez studied the alien admiral for a moment. Gorthak was obviously a veteran warrior, his hide marked with the ritual scars that showed his victories in personal combat. But there was something else in his expression, uncertainty masked by aggression. "Admiral, this is Commander Rodriguez of the United Earth Ship Reaper. My vessel is operating under the protection of the Galactic Council. We have no intention of surrendering to anyone. Your ship destroyed an entire fleet through treachery and surprise. The hegemony does not recognize such tactics as legitimate warfare." Rodriguez felt her temper rising. "Treachery, Admiral? We announced our presence, engaged the enemy fleet in open combat, and achieved total victory through superior tactics. If you call that treachery, then your military doctrine is even more primitive than I thought." The bridge crew watched tensely as the two commanders faced each other across the communication link. This was rapidly escalating into a confrontation that could trigger a galactic war. Gorthak's scarred face darkened with rage. "You dare insult the honor of the hegemony? We have conquered dozens of worlds and defeated every enemy we have faced." "Except the Krex," Rodriguez pointed out calmly. "I noticed the mighty hegemony fleet was nowhere to be found when they were destroying civilized worlds. We were preparing a proper military response. Unlike you humans, we do not charge blindly into battle without considering the consequences." Rodriguez smiled, but it was the cold expression of a predator that had spotted weakness. "Admiral, you had months to prepare a proper military response. The Krex were not exactly hiding their advance. Yet you did nothing while peaceful civilizations were slaughtered." The alien admiral had no good answer for that accusation. The hegemony had indeed avoided confronting the Krex, hoping that other species would bear the cost of stopping them. Their aggressive posturing now was partly an attempt to cover their own cowardice. "This conversation is pointless," Gorthak declared. "The hegemony demands that you withdraw from this system immediately. Your presence here threatens galactic stability." "Negative. The Reaper will remain here until our repairs are complete and our mission is finished. Then you force us to take action." The communication cut off, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Rodriguez turned to her tactical officer with a grim expression. "Clark, what is our weapons status?" "Still operating at about 60% capacity. Main guns are online, but our missile magazines are nearly empty from the Krex battle." "How many ships can we take in a straight fight?" Clark studied his displays carefully. "In our current condition, maybe 10 or 12 before they overwhelm us. Their ships are individually weaker than the Krex vessels, but they have numbers." Rodriguez nodded. The hegemony fleet was designed for conquering weaker civilizations, not fighting determined opponents. But 60 ships were still 60 ships, and the Reaper was still damaged from the previous battle. "Open a channel to Harmony Prime," she ordered. "I need to speak with the Galactic Council immediately." Admiral Zeftar's worried face appeared on the screen within moments. Behind him, the council chamber was filled with panicked aliens trying to prevent a war in their home system. Commander Rodriguez, the hegemony is demanding that we expel your ship from our space. They claim your presence violates several galactic treaties. What treaties? We were invited here by the legitimate government of this system. They cite the non-interference doctrine and the quarantine protocols. Since humanity was never formally contacted by galactic civilization, they argue that our invitation was invalid. Rodriguez felt a cold anger building in her chest. The same species that had ignored humanity for decades were now using that isolation as a legal weapon against them. Admiral, let me make something very clear. The UES Reaper is here because you asked for our help. We provided that help at considerable cost to ourselves. If the Galactic Council now wants to abandon us because some bullies are making threats, then you will learn exactly why the galaxy feared us in the first place. Zeftar looked shocked by the harsh tone. Commander, we do not wish to abandon you, but we also cannot afford a war with the hegemony. Then you have a choice to make. Stand by the species that saved your civilization, or bow to the species that abandoned you when you needed help. The communication ended, leaving the council to debate among themselves. Rodriguez knew they were in an impossible position, but she also knew that backing down now would invite aggression from every opportunistic power in the galaxy. Commander, reported the sensor operator, the hegemony ships are powering weapons and moving into attack positions. Rodriguez settled into her command chair and studied the tactical display. 60 enemy ships against one damaged human vessel. The odds were impossible, but she had faced impossible odds before. All hands. Battle stations. This is not a drill. Throughout the ship, the crew responded with calm efficiency. They had signed up to serve aboard humanity's most advanced warship, knowing that eventually they would face exactly this kind of situation. As the hegemony fleet closed in, Rodriguez opened a final communication to Admiral Gorthak. Admiral, you have one last chance to withdraw peacefully. I strongly recommend you take it. The hegemony does not retreat from inferior species, came the contemptuous reply. Rodriguez smiled coldly as she closed the channel. Then you are about to learn why humanity is not inferior to anyone. The battle for the future of human galactic relations was about to begin. The hegemony fleet moved into attack formation with the confidence of predators that had never met their match. 60 warships arranged in a classic envelopment pattern designed to surround and overwhelm a single target. Admiral Gorthak commanded, from his flagship, a massive dreadnought that had broken the defenses of 20 worlds. Commander Rodriguez watched them approach on the tactical display. The enemy formation was textbook perfect, exactly what she would expect from a military force that had grown complacent through easy victories. They were about to learn that humans did not fight like their previous opponents. All stations report. Ready, announced Lieutenant Clark from the weapons console. Very good. Chief White, how are our repairs progressing? Main engines are back online at 80%. Hull integrity is stable, and damage control teams are standing by. Chief White's voice was calm and professional, as if they were preparing for a training exercise rather than a battle against impossible odds. Rodriguez activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the commander. We are about to engage a superior enemy force that believes we are weak and defeated. They think the damage from our previous battle makes us vulnerable. They are about to discover what happens when you threaten a wounded predator. The bridge crew responded with quiet confidence. These were veterans who had learned to trust their commander's tactical instincts. If Rodriguez said they could win this fight, then they would win. Commander, reported the sensor operator, the hegemony ships are moving to surround us. They will have us completely enclosed in approximately 10 minutes. Perfect. Let them think they have us trapped. Dr. Park looked confused by this response. Commander, should we not attempt to avoid encirclement? Rodriguez turned to the xenobiology expert with a patient expression. Doctor, what is the most dangerous position for a pack hunter to be in? I am not sure I understand. Surrounded by prey. The hegemony fleet completed their encirclement maneuver with military precision. Admiral Gorthak watched from his command ship as his vessels took their assigned positions around the lone human vessel. In a few minutes, they would demand surrender one final time before destroying the ship that had embarrassed them. "Admiral," reported his tactical officer, "all ships are in position. The human vessel is completely surrounded." "Excellent. Signal the human commander and demand immediate surrender." But before the communication could be sent, the UES Reaper suddenly accelerated toward the nearest group of enemy ships. The human vessel moved with startling speed, closing the distance before the hegemony crews could react. "What are they doing?" demanded Gorthak. "They are outnumbered 60-1. His tactical officer studied the displays frantically. "Unknown, Admiral. Their acceleration profile suggests they are attempting a ramming attack." The Reaper opened fire as it approached the first enemy ships, but instead of concentrating on a single target, Rodriguez ordered her weapons to spread their fire across. Multiple vessels, railgun projectiles, and plasma bolts struck 6 different ships simultaneously. The hegemony crews were confused by this tactic. Standard doctrine called for focusing fire to destroy enemies one at a time. Spreading weapons across multiple targets seemed wasteful and ineffective, but Rodriguez was not trying to destroy the enemy ships immediately. She was implementing a strategy that the hegemony had never encountered. Terror tactics designed to break enemy morale. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel," ordered Gorthak. "Destroy them immediately." The surrounding hegemony ships turned their weapons toward the Reaper, but they faced a problem. Their target was moving directly through their own formation. Any missed shots would hit their own vessels. Rodriguez had deliberately placed her ship in a position where the enemy could not use their numerical advantage effectively. The hegemony crews found themselves hesitating to fire for fear of hitting their allies. "Sir," reported Gorthak's tactical officer nervously, "we cannot fire without risking our own ships." "Then pursue them, all vessels. Chase the human ship, and force them into open space." But the Reaper did not flee toward open space. Instead, Rodriguez ordered her ship deeper into the enemy formation. The human vessel wove between hegemony ships like a fighter craft, using their own mass and positioning against them. The enemy fleet began to lose formation coherence as individual captains tried to pursue the human ship. Some vessels collided with each other as they turned too sharply. Others were forced to emergency stop to avoid ramming their allies. "This is chaos," muttered Gorthak. "How can one ship disrupt our entire fleet?" His question was answered when the Reaper suddenly detonated a nuclear warhead in the middle of the formation. The explosion was not powerful enough to destroy the nearby ships, but the electromagnetic pulse disabled their sensors and communication systems. Blind and unable to coordinate, the hegemony ships found themselves firing at sensor shadows and phantom targets. Several vessels accidentally shot their own allies in the confusion. Rodriguez pressed her advantage ruthlessly. The Reaper moved through the disrupted formation like a shark among confused fish, striking at damaged ships and finishing off vessels that were already crippled. "Admiral," his communication officer reported to Gorthak, "we have lost contact with 12 ships. Sensors show multiple vessels dead in space." "Impossible. How can one damaged ship defeat a fleet?" But the evidence was displayed on every tactical screen. The human vessel was systematically destroying the hegemony fleet using tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. They fought without honor, without mercy, and without the ceremonial aspects that made warfare civilized. The battle continued. More hegemony ships were disabled or destroyed. The survivors began to lose their fighting spirit as they realized they were facing an enemy that would never surrender and never retreat. "Sir," whispered Gorthak's tactical officer, "perhaps we should consider withdrawal." The admiral stared at him in shock. "The hegemony does not retreat. But, sir, we have already lost 30 ships. If this continues, the entire fleet will be destroyed." Before Gorthak could respond, the UES Reaper appeared directly in front of his flagship. The human ship was battered and smoking, but its weapons were still active and pointed directly at his bridge. Commander Rodriguez opened a communication channel. Her image appeared on Gorthak's main screen, showing a woman with blood on her uniform and fire in her eyes. "Admiral Gorthak," she said calmly, "you wanted to know what human military doctrine looks like. This is it. We do not fight for glory or honor or conquest. We fight to win completely and permanently." "You fight without honor," Gorthak replied, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "We fight to protect the innocent from bullies like you. The Galactic Council asked for our help because peaceful species needed someone willing to do what was necessary. Today, that means teaching the hegemony that there are consequences for threatening those weaker than yourself." Rodriguez paused to let her words sink in before continuing. "You have two choices, Admiral. Order your remaining ships to withdraw, immediately, or watch them all die. Choose quickly." Gorthak looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were veteran warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds, but now they looked at him with fear and uncertainty. They had never faced an enemy that fought like this. "The hegemony will remember this insult," he said finally. "Good. Make sure you remember the lesson that comes with it." The surviving hegemony ships withdrew from the system within the hour. They left behind the wreckage of 30 vessels and the bodies of thousands of warriors who had underestimated the species from the Deathworld. As the enemy fleet disappeared into hyperspace, the UES Reaper limped back toward Harmony Prime. The ship was more damaged than before, but still functional and still dangerous. The alien council watched in stunned silence as the human vessel docked at their station. Commander Rodriguez had just defeated the most powerful military alliance in the galaxy with a single ship. When Rodriguez met with the council later, their attitude toward humanity had changed completely. These beings no longer saw humans as helpful but dangerous aliens. They saw them as the apex predators of galactic civilization. "Commander," said Admiral Zeftar carefully, "the Galactic Council formally recognizes humanity's right to defend itself and its allies. We will support Earth's application for full membership in galactic civilization." Rodriguez nodded politely. "We appreciate the gesture, Admiral. But as I said before, we did not come here for political recognition." "Then what do you want?" "To go home. Our mission here is complete." 2 days later, the UES Reaper departed Harmony Prime for the final time. The ship had been repaired enough to make the journey back to Earth, and Commander Rodriguez was eager to return to human space. As the stars shifted into hyperspace outside the bridge windows, Rodriguez reflected on what they had accomplished. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Some species would fear them, others would respect them, but none would ignore them. The age of human isolation was over. Earth now stood as an equal among the stars, protected by the knowledge that any species threatening humanity would face the same fate as the Krex and the hegemony. Rodriguez smiled as she settled into her command chair for the long journey home.